Alright, cuties. Well, the Delirium Shack tanked in value due to divs going up in price, but you know what hasn't? The patented Allie Tier 17 Harbinger Scarab farming strategy, which I've used for 3 seasons in a row at this point to farm my Mageblood. Just this season alone, I spent the past 15 hours farming this, and well, I easily made more than enough for my Mageblood, and then some. This is such a fun strategy because it is very akin to strongbox scare farming, except we're going to be doing this through Harbingers as they get to spawn out a lot of rare enemies. It's very enjoyable to do in my opinion, as you don't have to deal with the constant annoyance of strongboxes, nor do you have to worry about any of the prices of it because this strategy literally pays for itself. We are going to be self-sustaining the majority of our Scarabs, and you barely have to top up every now and then, and the only thing you have to deal with is buying the maps, and even then, if you just kill the boss every time, you literally pay for it, so you're effectively mapping for free. It's also a disgusting amount of experience, and I've gotten very close to level 98 several times now, and I've been doing quite a lot of gem leveling, and it just feels really solid. Let's get into it, and let's get you extremely rich, given that most things suck this season. So how exactly is all this going to work? Well, there's a very funny node on the tree called Amplified Artifacts, which gives rare monsters a 50% increased chance to drop a Scarab per monster modifier affecting them. We're going to be pairing this up with the Nemesis Scarab, giving us significantly more monster modifiers, so each rare is effectively a Lupinata that almost has a guaranteed chance to drop one every single time. What we're going to be doing with this is simply just adding as many raw rares into the map as possible for us to kill to proc this node as much as we can. To do that, the most efficient way is going to be through Harbingers, as we are going to be having 14 of them, and through First Wave and Regency Scarab, we have a 75% chance for each one of them to be a King Harbi, which loves to spawn a unreasonable amount of rares. Given that these monsters are going to die in very close proximity to each other, we can then go pick up all the Beyond nodes and get even more rares to spawn, effectively giving us somewhere between 400 to 500 rares per map that you do. To top this off, we are simply going to go pick up every single Scarab node on tree, and then we're going to go and pick up more chances for Cartography Scarabs, Essence Scarabs, Harbinger Scarabs, and Amber Scarabs, so we get more of the good ones. The last thing to mention is that we're also grabbing a few Ultimatum nodes, as these now give you a chance to get Ultimatum Scarabs, which are worth a lot of money. We're also going to go and block Abyss, Blight, and Delirium, as those Scarabs really aren't worth much and just dilutes the pool further. This is not going to increase the total amount of Scarabs that you see, but it's going to make it so the ones that you do see are more common, given that the more garbage ones are not in the pool. Before you go and say, Allie, but aren't Blight Scarabs worth a lot of money? Yeah, they are, but if you see the sample size, where's my Blight Scarabs? They don't exist. They're unbelievably rare, and they're not worth the chance to get when you get so many garbage Blight Scarabs that otherwise aren't worth anything. You're better off getting other types. So what about the mapping setup? For this strat, we're going to specifically be doing fortresses. Not only is the boss really easy for a lot of builds, where you can just walk up to it with a head hunter and basically two-shot him, but the barrels throughout the map also give quite a lot of loots, and it just feels really good. You can do this in Abomination or whatever other map you like, but I would strongly recommend to do Fortress, as the barrels does just make that map better. What I personally have done is I set up my regex for all the modifiers that I do not want to run. The regex will be linked in the description below, but it is unbelievably strict. For me, this takes about 20 to 30 Chaos Herbs per map to actually beat it. But honestly, I really like how easy it makes all these maps. I will link PoE.re in the description below, so you can come here, pick on the T17 modifiers, and to make your own custom regex for a build. This regex is just simply what I want to run for my current build, but every build's going to be different, and feel free to modify this as you want. The only thing to keep in mind here is that you should always roll for at least 70% increased Scarabs, and that's going to be the only hard requirement on every single map that you do. There are also Maven's Chisels of Scarabs, but these are absolutely not worth it to run at 10 chaos each, and you are not going to see any sort of additional profits from them. Even in maps that are absurdly well rolled at 160, 170% more Scarabs, it still is a loss to run them, and they're just a complete waste of money. For your Scarabs, you're simply just going to be running 1 Scarab of Nemesis. This is going to give you more modifiers, so more Scarabs are going to drop. 1 Harbinger Scarab of Regency, so we get more King Harbis, and then 3 normal Harbinger Scarabs. The funny thing about these Scarabs is that you're going to be self-sustaining the majority of them. Your normal Harbi Scarabs are completely over-sustained. You sustain about 90% of all Regency they use, and then you sustain about 50% of all the Nemesis they use, meaning you barely have to top off every maybe 50 to 60 maps at most. For altars, you can do either red or blue altars. It is up to you. It really doesn't matter which one you take. Most of my maps at this point have been all done with blue altars, but personally I'm going to swap to red to see how those work. And I honestly don't think there's much of a difference. The only thing you're really looking for here is the blue altar that gives you a chance for Scarabs to be duplicated, but it's kind of rare, and it really doesn't make that big of a difference. Finally, for your map device, you're simply just going to pick Harbinger every time, And then that's it. You're going to go and have fun. Now, for the mapping strat itself, what I personally like to do is I like to hug the wall and to clear all the outside of the map, as that gets me to the boss relatively quickly. I kill the boss and then I just go and clear the other side of the map and just do a full loop back to the entrance before going through the middle. I found that to be the fastest way to clear through this. You should also go and interact with basically every league mechanic you see, with the exception of the ultimatum, as that thing is a massive waste of time, but everything else is highly worth it. The lead mechanic for the season, Breach, is also really good to do. Unfortunately, the hives, the ones where you have to defend Aelith, kind of suck because they eat monsters and they don't give you that much loot, but you still should do them because there's a high amount of errors in them and they're always worth it. Otherwise, kill every single Harbinger, take your time with the map. You should be able to do these in about 8 to 12 minutes or so, depending on how fast your build is. And as long as you clear every Harbi and get the majority of the monsters in the map, you'll have a great time. You pretty much are always going to walk out with about 1 to 1.5 inventories worth of loot, and sometimes you get super lucky, you might even get 2+. And of course, what kind of strategy would this be if we don't talk about what your loot's going to look like? As I mentioned, you are basically going to self-sustain almost everything you do here, so you don't really have that much of a cost. In total, I personally found that this strategy makes me somewhere around 12 div an hour. The thing about that is that it's very spiky. I have had some hours where I've had almost 20 plus div, and then my final hour reaching up to my Mageblood, I was able to push 30 plus div, which is quite ridiculous. And across the 15 total hours I did this to my Mageblood, my average was 12 divines an hour. That also includes all the map costs, which is based just off of all the total loot that I have, given that I literally started with no money when I did the strategy, and now I'm all the way up here. As you can see, the majority of your loot is going to be all in Scarabs. These are pretty easy to sell, and while you could go and bulk sell them if you want to, you are going to make a little bit more money just simply selling all of them on the currency exchange itself. You're also going to get yourself a lot of raw currency, which feels really good, and the only other thing you'll see here are going to be fragments, which can very quickly be bulk sold, and quite a lot of maps, which what I personally ended up doing with was just letting them all stack up. And then as soon as my mapping tab filled with dunes, which is why I'd recommend for you to set all your favorite maps to, as they sell the best right now, and the memory versions are worth 30 chaos each, I just simply took all these, went over to Faustus, and just grabbed myself a tab and just shoved all of them in here. These might take a little bit of time to sell, but they do sell, and I think at this point I've sold probably 300 to 400 total maps. The other thing to mention here, because if you went and did the math on this, this wouldn't actually be a total of 12 div an hour, is that you are going to get yourself quite a few heist contracts, which are currently worth 7 chaos each, and a lot of item level 84 womb gifts, which are also worth a very disgusting amount of money. Basically, all of the womb gifts, with the exception of the graft ones, are worth 10 to 15 plus chaos, and you should go check the price on all of them as they do change quite a bit, but the current big ticket one are the ancient womb gifts, which are over 22 chaos each. When you account for all this, the wombs, the fragments, the maps, the currency, and the scarabs, it's about 12 div an hour on average, and you could basically just let this stack up as much as you want to, as scarabs never really go down in price. And then if you do need a little bit of money, you can siphon off some of the expensive scarabs, sell those, and go from there. One final thing I might want to quickly recommend for you to do to just make a tiny little bit of money is to potentially go and grab yourself an its series' favor, put this in your offhand, and then go level some exceptional gems at the same time. I personally have 2 of these, one that's all red and one that is 5 blue to either level Enlightens or Empowers, and I've just been simply switching between these two as the prices of the exceptional gems have changed, and it takes about 2 hours on average with the strat to level the gems from level 1 to level 3. This does give you another about 1 to 3 div an hour of profit, but that's highly dependent on the current price of exceptional gems, and you might have to wait and overnight them to see those actual gains. It's not something you have to do, and it's not going to be part of the strategy, but if you want to make a little bit of money, this strategy gives you so much XP that's quite reasonable to level the gems. And that's all we really have to say for the strat. It's quite simple, it's really fun, and it makes so much money. I'm personally going to probably be doing this for another 3 days or so to go make a mirror to buy Sublight Vision, and I don't know, maybe we keep going after that because it is just that lucrative. I've been super happy with it the past 3 seasons that I've done this, and I'm even happier now as we are making even more money than before. And if you go and try a strategy for yourself, I hope you have a good time with it, because I sure have. If you have any questions, do feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to help you as soon as I can. I also stream on Twitch every single day, so feel free to come by Twitch and ask me your questions there. Or if you just want to come and hang out with the other kitties and be a part of our community, I'd be more than happy to see you either there or in our Discord at any point. With all that said, kitties, enjoy the rest of your day, have fun with the strats, and I'll see you all in the next video.